Hi, this is Griffin. I wanted to make a YouTube channel for a long time talking about like horror movies because that's my favorite genre. And I wanted to I don't know, maybe do like music reviews or video games or books, things like that, but mainly horror. So yeah, and I didn't know really where to start, so I thought maybe it'd be good to start like at the end of the year, like ranking all the 2023 horror movies I watched. And there's a lot. So I just checked and I watched 64 horror movies from 2023. That's like a lot. Like that's I think the most I've ever watched in one year for sure. And I just want to say at the beginning that I love horror and I try not to complain, but in general I think this was a pretty bad year. So a good portion of this video will be negative. I'll tell you whenever it's like terrible to bad to mid to good to amazing. I'll let you know. Okay, to start off the terrible section of my video, I have the 64th place worst movie of the whole year, Dear David. Dear David follows a comic artist named Adam who, while responding to internet trolls, begins experiencing sleep paralysis. As he chronicles increasingly malevolent occurrences in a series of tweets, Adam begins to believe he's being haunted by the ghost of a dead child named David. I really dislike this movie. It felt really boring. There was little to no horror. The acting was very bad. The writing was very bad. It wasn't scary whatsoever. It was almost laughable. But the parts that were supposed to be funny weren't funny, but the parts that weren't supposed to be funny were hilarious, which is not good. It's kind of just embarrassing. Yeah, that's all. That last movie was rated 1 star out of 5. I don't give lower than 1 star. If you made a movie and paid all that money to make a movie and put effort, 1 star. That's what you get. But nothing more. This was just a movie, nothing else. Okay, the next movie that is rated 1 star is Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. So this follows Christopher Robin from the original Winnie the Pooh, who's headed off to college after abandoning his old friends, where he finds Pooh and Piglet, which leads them into absolute terror. And all I have to say is it's very bad. It's a joke. I mean, it's Winnie the Pooh as a horror movie. I don't think anybody really liked it. I think this movie would be even worse if they didn't have the masks on, because it kind of is a little bit funny in a way, but I still hate it. It's very bad. I thought this was going to be the worst movie of the year, the whole year, until I watched Dear David, which was just awful. But this one's also very bad. But also, it wasn't made for me, so, yep. The next movie, which I personally gave a 1.5, so we're stepping up a half star. We're still in the terrible category, but I gave it a 1.5, not a 1, is Deliver Us. So, Deliver Us is about a nun sent to a remote convent who claims Immaculate Conception. The Vatican sends a team of priests to investigate, concerned about an ancient prophecy that the woman will give birth to 2 twins, one the Messiah and the other the Antichrist. Okay, so I didn't like this movie because it was just really bad. The plot was really bad. The idea was cool, but it was not well executed. It was really boring. It actually had a pretty cool start, that hooked me in. But the acting wasn't terrible, but the performances weren't good. I don't know how to describe that. They just didn't work for this movie. And overall, it was just really bad. There was way too much, sexual stuff. I really didn't enjoy it at all very much. The beginning was cool, though. Okay, the next movie I will be reviewing for 1.5 stars is The Strays. So, this movie is about a black woman's meticulously crafted life of privilege starts to unravel when two strangers show up in her quaint suburban town. And if you think that, like, that blurb kind of is a little bit vague and doesn't really tell you what happens, neither does the movie. Like, Loki had no clue what happened at any point in this movie. And that's really all I had to say. It felt kind of like thinking it was better than every other movie ever made. Well, it was actually just kind of boring. And there was literally... there's not even much to critique. There's nothing to watch. It was literally just boring. That's all I have to say. Hello. It's a new day, and I got tired. So I'm filming now today. And I want to make an honorable mention to a movie I forgot to put on my list, but it's on my list. So this is actually a top 65 list, not 64. But I just forgot to include it. And it's Don't Look Away, which I rated a 1.5. And if you are wondering, it's in between 62 and 60. It's at the 61 spot. So not really great anyways. But it's about... I'm not even going to do the actual thing. It's just about a doll, and it moves whenever you look away. So don't look away. And it sucks. That's all I have to say. The next movie on this list is Bird Box Barcelona. After a mysterious force decimates the world's population, Sebastian must navigate his own survival journey through the desolate streets of Barcelona. As he forms uneasy alliances with other survivors and they try to escape the city, an unexpected and even more sinister threat grows. This movie was, like, so bad. How could you go from such a great sequel, like Bird Box, to, like, the worst sequel, like, ever? Like, it's really bad. I'm sure there's worse sequels, but, like, this is pretty darn bad. Like, the acting's bad. The storyline is just bad. It's not scary at all. I don't know. I just think it's not good. Sorry. The next movie, rated 1.5 in the terrible section, is Snow Falls. After a winter storm strands 5 friends in a remote cabin with no power and little food, disorientation slowly claims their sanity as each of them succumbs to a fear that the snow itself may be contaminated or somehow evil. I really liked the idea. I like the setup. The setting's really nice. Everything else sucks. Acting, terrible. Scariness, so little. There's not much substance to the movie, and it's just kind of dumb. I don't know. I feel like there was nothing interesting. I feel like they had such a cool place, and then they didn't use it. The snow being contaminated, that was never really explored. Overall, it's just not good, like, not good at all. But it's not the worst movie of the year, obviously. The final movie to be on the terrible list with a rating of 1.5 is Unwelcome. Londoners Maya and Jamie escape their urban nightmare to the tranquility of rural Ireland, only to discover malevolent, murderous goblins lurking in the gnarled, ancient wood at the foot of their new garden. When heavily pregnant, Maya's relationship with the local farmer turns sour. Who or what will come to her rescue, and to what extremes will she go to protect her unborn child? This movie was pretty bad. I'm pretty sure if I'm remembering right, nothing happened for the first hour. Like, genuinely nothing happened. Just, like, they renovated their house. That's all that happened. And then whenever the goblins came, it was not scary at all. Like, it was, like, it felt like a joke. It was, like, I waited this long, and it was, like, literally a joke. But there is, like, a slight little campy feeling to it that makes me like it more than the other 1.5, so that's why it's the best one. But now we're on to the just bad section. Not terrible, but bad. Okay, the next movie that is rated 2 stars is Run Rabbit Run, starting out the bad section. Not terrible, but bad. Sarah's a fertility doctor with a firm understanding of the cycle of life. When she's forced to make sense of the increasingly strange behavior of her young daughter, Mia, she must challenge her own beliefs and confront a ghost from her past. Now, this actually feels a bit more like a thriller, so I feel bad putting it on this list, but it is marketed as a horror. It's definitely on the psychological side, let's just say that. It's very boring. There is very little horror. Now, as I said, I do think it's more of a psychological thriller, but even at that, it wasn't a good one. I was pretty bored the whole time. The twist was good. The setting was gorgeous. And the story was fine. It was just really slowly paced, and I would never watch it again. It was very boring. The next 2-star movie is The Jester, which is about a malevolent being known as the Jester who terrorizes the inhabitants of a small town on Halloween night, including 2 estranged sisters who must come together to find a way to defeat the evil entity. This movie was sort of a copy of Terrifier. Felt the same vibe as Terrifier, but the poster is like a ripoff of the Black Phone. Like, it looks exactly like the Black Phone. It's like the Terrifier with less gore. It's like more of a psychological thriller. Not thriller. It's definitely a horror. Psychological horror. More than that than a slasher. But he uses like magic to kill. And I just don't know if it was a good idea. It was really boring. It wasn't scary. It was just mid. I shouldn't have watched it. I knew I wasn't going to like it. The next 2-star movie is Tin and Tina. After a traumatic miscarriage, Lola and her husband Adolfo adopt Tin and Tina, a lovely albino brother and sister with an ultra-Catholic education that makes them interpret the Holy Bible verbatim. This is a Spanish horror film. I did not like it. It wasn't scary. It had a couple of scenes that actually like triggered me in a ways, but it not like in a good way. It wasn't like scary. I would look up trigger warnings if you're gonna watch this. It just wasn't scary, and it was really boring and hateable, and the child actors were actually kind of good. That's like the one good part. I don't know, I didn't like it. The next 2-star movie is All Fun and Games. A group of Salem teens discover a cursed knife that unleashes a demon that forces them to play gruesome, deadly versions of childhood games where there can be no winners, only survivors. This movie, it was just bad. It's a nice movie to just like put on like for a little spooky, bloody watch. Like, it has every single element of horror you could want. It has a little bit of possession, like paranormal, supernatural, has the slasher kind of aspect, it has a creepy kid, has all that. Like, you could throw this on at Halloween or something for a fun watch with friends, but alone it's just awkward and dumb and bad. The next movie on the list is Fear. A group of friends gather for a much-needed weekend getaway at a remote and historical hotel. Celebration turns into terror as one by one each guest faces their own worst fear. So this is like the movie where everybody has to face their own worst fear, and like that's what kills them. It just wasn't executed very well. Nobody's fear really kills them. Like, if you've seen it, you know what I mean. Like, it just isn't as good as you would think. There's one death I thought was cool, and like the idea is cool, like the setting, but like overall it's not. It's pretty bad. The next movie on our list that I rated 2 stars is The Outwaters. 4 travelers encounter menacing phenomena while camping in a remote stretch of the Mojave Desert. Basically, this is a found footage film, one of the few that came out this year that I watched, at least. It's really long for no reason. The beginning was great. Then towards the end, it just became completely pitch black and you could see nothing. So it was really hard to like understand what was going on because you could see nothing. And then at the very end, it got really gratuitous and disgusting to watch. So overall, I just would never watch this again. I did not enjoy it. Okay, the next movie on the list that's bad is It's a Wonderful Life, rated 2 stars. This is a Christmas movie, and it just follows the same exact plot as It's a Wonderful Life. And it's about Winnie and how she saves her town from a psychotic killer, and when she wishes she was never born, she finds herself magically transported to a nightmarish parallel universe. With the murderous maniac now back, she must team up with a misfit to identify the culprit and get back to her own reality. The killer's cool. The movie has good Christmas vibes, but it's bad. The writing's bad. Story's bad. It's not scary. And the genre is getting a bit old. The next movie that I rated 2 stars is Perpetrator. Johnny Baptiste is a reckless teen sent to live with her estranged Aunt Hildy on the event of her 18th birthday. She experiences a radical metamorphosis, a family spell that redefines her called Forevering. When several teen girls go missing at her new school, mythically feral Johnny goes after the perpetrator. I don't honestly remember this movie, sorry. But from what I remember, it was pretty bad. It actually was interesting, like, it had a storyline. I don't think the acting was good, didn't think it was scary, and I thought it was just kind of weird to the point where I didn't like it. Like, it was just too weird. So yeah, that's it. The next movie I've rated 2 stars is Pet Sematary Bloodlines. In 1969, a young Judd has dreams of leaving his hometown of Ludlow, Maine behind, but soon discovers sinister secrets buried within and is forced to confront a dark family history that will forever keep him connected to Ludlow. This movie's scary, I will say that. There's some good jump scares, like it's spooky, it was good for Halloween, but like as a Pet Sematary fan, it was not good. Like the story, terrible. It was also very heavily reliant on jump scares and shock factor. There was nothing really that scary. I just wanted more from it, and it was kind of boring. I feel like most people probably agree. The next movie I rated 2 stars is The Nun 2. In 1956 France, a priest is violently murdered, and Sister Irene begins to investigate. She once again comes face to face with a powerful evil. This movie's slightly better than the original Nun, but I don't like either Nun movies, and I don't like Nun movies in general. I just don't think I like them. There was another one that came out this year called Sister Death that I just didn't even watch. I only watched this because it's pretty mainstream and I felt like I had to. But yeah, not my favorite. The next movie on my list is There's Something Wrong with the Children. I rated this 2 stars. Margaret and Ben take a weekend trip with longtime friends Ellie and Thomas and their 2 young children. Eventually, Ben begins to suspect something supernatural is occurring when the kids behave strangely after disappearing into the woods overnight. This one's pretty mid. I actually was expecting a little bit more from it since it was Blumhouse. They did not have the biggest budget, but like, I don't know, I feel like they could have done more with it. The child actors weren't great. They were close to have something new and original, and it just because they didn't push it, it kind of ended up just being boring, cliche, nothing special. Yeah. Movie on my list is Elevator Game. This is rated 2 stars. Follows socially awkward teenager Ryan, who discovers that the night his sister disappeared, he had played the elevator game, a ritual conducted in an elevator which players attempt to travel to another dimension using a set of rules that can be found online. Ignoring warnings, he resolves to follow and find her. This movie was not my least favorite of the bad ones. Like, the acting and writing, terrible. Budget, bad. But the story and the overall movie is scary. Like, it is really scary, I think. The jump scares were good. There's some good gore. They just need a bigger budget, way better actors. A lot of things could have been done better. It just looked cheap, but it was almost really good. The final movie of the 2 stars, 2.5 is still in the bad section, but the final movie of the 2 stars is The Tank. In 1978 Oregon, Ben and Jules inherit an abandoned coastal property from Ben's late mother, who's never mentioned it. The untouched house has been kept a secret for 40 years and comes with a beautiful private cove and beach. Jules searches for answers while Ben unwittingly awakens a fiercely protective creature. This one was pretty mid. I watched this with my dad and my grandpa, and they didn't like it either. It's just pretty mid. The setting's gorgeous. The monster is actually really scary looking, but he's just in the movie for like 5 minutes. There's like little to no horror, incredibly boring, but like there was some stuff there that could have been good maybe. That's it. The first movie rated 2.5 is Renfield, which is about having grown sick and tired of his centuries of Dracula's lackey. Renfield finds a new lease on life and maybe even redemption when he falls for feisty, perennially angry traffic cop Rebecca. This is like a comedy horror. It was actually fine. I just don't really like comedy horror, and I found it kind of boring. But I thought the Dracula, not Renfield, the Dracula was wonderful. So yeah. The next movie, rated 2.5 stars, is Trinket Box. A newlywed interracial couple, Mike and Ava, move to a new home set on starting new beginnings, but an historical evil, locked away for years, is about to break free and wreak havoc on their relationship and their lives. This one was kind of interesting. It was like a Tubi movie, so not great, but I didn't hate it. There's some parts I liked about it. It had like focuses on racism. It was also a little sexual. It got scary at times. Sometimes it was really boring. I don't know. It's just kind of a weird jumble of a lot of things. Some that are good, some are bad. So just kind of in the middle. The next movie, rated 2.5 stars, is The Black Demon. A family vacation turns into a nightmare when they encounter a ferocious megalodon shark that will stop at nothing to protect its territory. Stranded and under constant attack, Paul and his family must somehow find a way to get his family back to shore alive before it strikes again in this epic battle between humans and nature. This is one of the 2 Megalodon horror movies I watched this year, that came out this year. I don't know how many there were in total. These are only 2 I knew of. This is the worst one. It's just kind of boring. There wasn't much of the Megalodon, but when it was there, it was good. But like when it wasn't, it was not there. Like it really wasn't. It was just kind of boring, focused too much on the story. I wish it just had more kills. That's honestly what I was there for. But it was interesting. The next movie, rated 2.5 stars, is Nefarious. On the day of his scheduled execution, a convicted serial killer gets a psychiatric evaluation during which he claims he's a demon, and further claims that before their time is left over, the psychiatrist will commit 3 murders of his own. This movie, I mean, as you can tell from the plot, there's not much to it. That plot is what happens. So it's kind of like you just watch a really scary guy yell at a guy for like an hour and a half. I don't know. Like, it's a cool plot, but it really doesn't go anywhere from there. You just kind of just see them yell at each other, and then there's a bit of an ending. It's not quite good. But overall, I did enjoy the movie. It was kind of scary. It was spooky. I don't know. It was also, like, I watched it at a time where I was kind of sad, so maybe that's why I didn't like this movie. But, yeah, kind of mid. The next movie, rated 2.5 stars, is There's Something in the Barn. An American family fulfills their dream of moving back to their roots after inheriting a remote cabin in the mountains of Norway, but there's a surprise waiting for them. I guess since it doesn't say in the plot summary what the horror part of it is, I guess I won't spoil it, but if you knew what it was, it's not very scary. It's kind of like Gremlins in a way, but even less scary than that. But it's an awesome family Christmas movie, even though it's rated R. Awesome family movie. Okay, next movie is a bit controversial for 2.5 stars, Five Nights at Freddy's. Recently fired and desperate for work, a troubled young man named Mike agrees to take a position as a night security guard at an abandoned theme restaurant, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. But he soon discovers that nothing at Freddy's is what it seems. Basically, main critique is just, it's not scary, but it shows the lore well. So, I don't really like it. I don't know if I would watch this ever again. That's it. The next movie, rated 2.5, is VHS 85. So, unveiled through a made-for-TV documentary, 5 chilling tales of found footage horror emerge to take viewers on a gore-filled journey through the grim underbelly of forgotten 1980s. So, I'm not really a fan of, honestly, I can't think of one good found footage movie from 2023. I didn't think this was great. I think 99 was probably worse than this, but this is, I think, the second worst. I thought one short was really good, the rest were bad. So that's basically all I have to say. That's kind of a hot take, but. The next movie, rated 2.5 stars, is Oracle, which not many people have been talking about. It's about a young woman who accepts a job on a property with a traumatic history. Upon her arrival, she soon realizes that the nightmares of her childhood are connected to the evil in the house. So this movie has big themes about racism. And, kind of, I don't know, it's kind of okay. There was, like, zero marketing for this movie, so nobody really knew about it. It was kind of scary. I don't know, I didn't hate it, and the twist was good. A lot of it was boring, and a lot of it was, like, stupid, but, like, it wasn't the worst thing ever. Next horror movie rated 2.5 is kind of polarizing. A lot of people like it, a lot of people hate it. A lot of people hate it. I just think it's mid. The Exorcist Believer. When two girls disappear into the woods and return 3 days later with no memory of what happened to them, the father of one of the girls seeks out Chris MacNeil, who's been forever altered by what happened to her daughter 50 years ago. So this is like the sequel to the original Exorcist. Obviously, that movie's fantastic. I think most people agree. I thought this was fine. I liked the section whenever we were first finding out they were possessed. And then I don't love the exorcism. But overall, it wasn't awful like people said. It's just kind of mid. The next horror movie rated 2.5 stars is The Sacrifice Game. Christmas break, 1971, Samantha and Claire are two students who are staying behind for the holidays at their boarding school, must survive the night after the arrival of uninvited visitors. This movie is not great. It is bloody, it's spooky, it's a Christmas horror movie. It's my favorite Christmas horror movie of 2023. And since it's in the bad section, I guess December was just not a good month for horror. But besides that, I mean, it was okay. It's fine. The next movie on the list, rated 2.5 stars, is It Lives Inside. An Indian American teenager struggling with her cultural identity has a falling out with her former best friend, and in the process unwittingly releases a demonic entity that grows stronger by feeding on her loneliness. This movie is kind of interesting because it looked like it was going to be so good. Made by the creators of Get Out, that was advertised everywhere. It kind of just fell flat. It's a creature feature, and the creature's kind of scary, but he doesn't come till like the last 10 minutes. And even then, it's kind of cheesy. Overall, not great. But at the same time, like, there was an idea there. Could have worked, maybe, but it didn't. Next up for the 2.5s is the first of the two A24 horror movies, or movies that I count as A24 horror movies, of this year, Beau's Afraid by Ari Aster. This is my least favorite of his films. It's about a paranoid man who embarks on an epic odyssey to get home to his mother. It's just really long. The first half of it is incredible. The second half really dies down. I don't know what to say. It feels like I'm watching two different movies. I watched it on 2 different days. I don't know. Weird movie. It's good, actually, but I don't know if I'd ever watch it again. The next 2.5 and the final 2.5 and final bad movie of this list is Infinity Pool. While staying at an isolated island resort, James and Em are enjoying a perfect vacation of pristine beaches, exceptional staff, and soaking up the sun, but guided by the seductive mistress Gabby, played by Mia Goth. They venture outside the resort grounds and find themselves in a culture filled with violence, hedonism, and untold horror. I personally found this movie just to be very weird. I thought Mia Goth was incredible, and it was gory. Overall, it was just so weird in my mind. I just didn't like it. There's too much sex, and it was too weird. Okay, and now we're entering into the mid section, which is like the 3s and the 3.5s. Actually, no, I think it's just the 3s. The mid section is just the 3s, and I'm going to try to go through these kind of fast because I don't have much to say about them. It's just like they're mid, so I'm not gonna say much. I will just say like the plot summary. To start off the mid movies at 3 stars, we have Knock at the Cabin. While vacationing at a remote cabin, a young girl and her parents are taken hostage by 4 armed strangers who demand that the family make an unthinkable choice to avert the apocalypse. With limited access to the outside world, the family must decide what they believe, for all is lost. This movie's good, but I like the book better. So therefore, it's mid. The next mid-movie is Appendage. After hitting a breaking point, Hannah's inner thoughts physicalize into a monstrous creature that threatens to upend her life. This movie's really funny, not that scary. It's kind of cringy, but it's really entertaining. Mid. The next mid-movie, 3 stars, is When Evil Lurks. Residents of a small rural town discover that a demon is about to be born among them. They desperately try to escape before the evil is born, but it may be too late. I know this one's just popular, but I just feel like it's not scary. Bloody doesn't equal scary, in my opinion. I don't think this is scary, but it's a good movie. But I know everyone thinks it's like the best movie of the year. I think it's mid. The next movie on the mid movies is The Boogeyman. Still reeling from the tragic death of their mother, a teenage girl and her younger sister find themselves plagued by a sadistic presence in their house and struggle to get their grieving father to pay attention before it's too late. This one was scary, but not that scary. I don't like these Stephen King adaptations, but this one's just it's okay. It's mid. The next movie in the mid movies is Huesera the Bone Woman, a foreign film. Valeria's joy at becoming a first-time mother is quickly taken away when she's cursed by a sinister entity. A danger closes in. She's forced deeper into a chilling world of dark magic that threatens to consume her. This one was like a slow burn that was too slow of a burn, but it did have a crazy body horror ending. That was just insane, but overall, it's pretty mid. The next mid movie is Killer Book Club, another foreign film about 8 horror-loving friends who fight for their lives when a killer clown who seems to know the grim secret they share begins to pick them off one by one. So this is actually a really fun, cool story that I feel like would have been really good as like a book, but it just didn't do as well in movie form, I feel like. But it was good, but mid. The next mid movie is The Conference. A team-building conference for municipal employees turns into a nightmare when accusations of corruption begin to circulate and plague the work environment. At the same time, a mysterious figure begins murdering the participants. This one is honestly kind of fun, but it's just overall mid. That's all I have to say. It's like fun, not scary, but just mid. The next mid movie at 3 stars is Meg 2: The Trench. An exploratory dive into the deepest depths of the ocean of a daring research team spirals into chaos when a malevolent mining operation threatens their mission and forces them into high-stakes battle for survival. This is the better Megalodon movie of the year. Still not great, but it was entertaining, not very scary, but overall it was mid. This was the first horror movie I watched of the whole year, and it was mid. Megan. A brilliant toy company roboticist uses artificial intelligence to develop Megan, a lifelike doll programmed to emotionally bond with her newly orphaned niece. But when the doll's programming works too well, she becomes overprotective of her new friend with terrifying results. I personally watched the uncut version of this, if you were wondering, and I just thought it was pretty entertaining. It wasn't too scary or gory, but it was entertaining, and it was mid. The next of the mid movies is Evil Dead Rise. 3 siblings find an ancient vinyl that gives birth to bloodthirsty demons that run amok in Los Angeles apartment building and thrusts them into a primal battle for survival as they face the most nightmarish version of family imaginable. This movie it's good, it's gory, it's scary. It's just not as good as Evil Dead 2013, and I wish it was. We also just didn't need this, I feel like, and the setting didn't really do anything for it, but it was mid. The final mid movie and 3-star movie, after this we go on to the 3.5s and to the good movies, is The Blackening. A group of black friends reunite for a Juneteenth weekend getaway, only to find themselves trapped in a remote cabin with a twisted killer. This one is pretty much what you're expecting, just a fun slasher that's pretty mid. I'm gonna go to bed now, but whenever I wake up tomorrow, I'll finish the video. There's only 20 more movies to go. The first movie of the good section, rated 3.5, is You're Killing Me. Eden goes to a coveted heaven and hell party, hoping to get a letter of recommendation to an elite university from the wealthy parents of her classmate. But the party quickly turns into a fight for her life. This one was interesting. It had a interesting plot. It's low budget. It's not great, but I really enjoyed it, and I've had a lot of fun with it. So that's why it's at the bottom of the 3.5s, because it's not a great movie, but I just really enjoyed it. The next good movie that I have rated at 3.5 stars is Cocaine Bear. An oddball group of cops, criminals, tourists, and teens converge in a Georgia forest where a 500-pound black bear goes on a murderous rampage after unintentionally ingesting cocaine. This one was just really funny. It wasn't even really horror. It felt more like a comedy with lots of blood. It was very gory. And it was just fun. It was so fun. I loved all the different characters. It was hilarious. The next movie I have in the good section is rated 3.5 stars, A Haunting in Venice. Celebrated sleuth Hercule Poirot, now retired and living in self-imposed exile in Venice, reluctantly attends a Halloween seance at a decaying haunted palazzo. When one of the guests is murdered, the detective is thrust into a sinister world of shadows and secrets. This one was really spooky and fun. It kind of reminded me of, like, it started out with a seance that was kind of scary, and then it, like, went into this murder mystery. It felt like the movie Clue, but a little bit scarier. I really enjoyed it. It's definitely tame, but it was really fun. The next movie I rated 3.5 stars is The Angry Black Girl and Her Monster. Vicaria is a brilliant teenager who believes death is a disease that can be cured. After the brutal and sudden murder of her brother, she embarks on a dangerous journey to bring him back to life. This one's very interesting. I didn't quite expect where it would go. It's very inventive and innovative. It feels very sci-fi horror, but it's very interesting. It was really entertaining. I watched it on a plane, so. The next movie on this list is No One Will Save You, rated 3.5 stars. An exiled, anxiety-ridden homebody must battle an alien who's found its way into her home. This is an interesting sci-fi twist onto a home invasion movie, and my favorite part is that there's no dialogue throughout the whole thing. It's very tense. There's no dialogue, but the sound design is really nice. And overall, it's very enjoyable. It did get a little bit really weird at the end, and it's kind of boring at parts, but it's overall really good. The next movie is a Blumhouse movie called Sick, which I rated 3.5 stars. In the midst of the pandemic, college student Parker and her best friend Miri decide to self-quarantine at her family's lake house, where they will be alone. Or so they think. This one's really interesting. It's a good home invasion movie with, like, slasher aspects, and I really like the pandemic twist it brought. It's sort of like generic, but it's really fun. I think I might watch this movie like every summer. It very much gives like summer vacation vibes. The next movie rated 3.5 stars for me is The Pope's Exorcist. Father Gabriel, chief exorcist of the Vatican, investigates a young boy's terrifying possession and ends up uncovering a centuries-old conspiracy the Vatican has desperately tried to keep hidden. This movie is not that bad. I was expecting this to be like the cheesiest movie of the year, terrible religious horror. Religious horror is one of my favorite genres, but it's almost never done well. But it's done pretty well here. There's some cheesy parts. There's a creepy kid, and he's not so creepy, but there is a lot of good parts of this movie that I really enjoy. The next movie, rated 3.5 stars, is Missing. When her mother disappears while on vacation in Colombia with her new boyfriend, June creatively uses all the latest technology at her fingertips to try to find her before it's too late. This one was really good. I enjoyed it. It's by the same creators as Searching. It starts out sort of slow. It's like sort of found footage-y because it's like all filmed from a computer camera, but it's really good and it gets really scary at the end. Like, I really like the ending, so it's not actually that bad, despite what other people think about it. This next horror movie, rated 3.5 stars, is Skinamarink. Two children wake up in the middle of the night to find their father is missing, and all the windows and doors in their home have vanished, and they're hearing strange voices. This one, I'll be so honest, I'll just say, it's not the best, it's not my favorite. I think this is by far the scariest movie of 2023. Like, there's not, I don't think, a single other movie that it plays on my biggest fears as Skinamarink does. I truly think this is like the scariest movie of this year. But other than being so scary, there isn't much acting or cinematography to really go off of, and it's not really very rewatchable, but it's it's very good. The next movie, now rated 4 stars, unpopularly, Insidious: The Red Door. To put their demons to rest once and for all, Josh Lambert and a college-aged Dalton Lambert must go deeper into the further than ever before, facing their family's dark past and a host of new and more horrifying terrors that lurk behind the Red Door. I think this is the scariest Insidious movie. I think I might like the original more, but I think this was the scariest, and the jump scares were incredible. Now, there are some dumb things, like Dalton's new friend is really annoying, but like the movie was pretty scary in my opinion. I thought it was good. To kick off the top 10, at 4 stars, we have Totally Killer. When the infamous Sweet 16 killer returns 35 years after his first murder spree to claim another victim, 17-year-old Jamie accidentally travels back to 1987, determined to stop the killer before he can start. This is really interesting. Like, everyone has made the comparison. It's sort of like Back to the Future mixed with Scream. But I just found it really fun. It was pretty scary, it got gory at times, and it was just really funny and so fun to watch. The next movie in the top 10 at number 9 is Scream 6, rated 4 stars. Following the latest Ghostface killings, the 4 survivors leave Woodsboro behind and start a fresh chapter in New York City. It's really sad that this is the last Scream movie ever, because I really do enjoy them. I mean, I think it's probably going to be the last Scream movie ever, at least made by these same directors. But this one was really good, I have to say. It was very, very good. It was very scary. I think it's the scariest Scream movie. Only critique is I just thought the killer was kind of obvious. And I thought it was like the easy way out. But it was a good movie. The next movie I'll be talking about, rated 4 stars, is Thanksgiving. But actually, my dad will be reviewing and talking about Thanksgiving. So here he is.
So Thanksgiving starts with the kickoff of Black Friday, where there's a really horrible scene of shoppers storming a Walmart type store, and there's a bunch of gruesome deaths to start off the movie. And you thought maybe that's what the movie was going to be about, but then you realize that a year later, someone has a bone to pick with the owner of that company, and a bunch of gruesome murders start happening. The murders are very creative, very gruesome, and you don't know whether to laugh or cry. Probably a couple of my favorites are a woman who's being rolled over in the Walmart store and a part of her scalp gets ripped off under a shopping cart, and a particular woman who's dressed as a turkey and cooked for Thanksgiving dinner. Overall, a very entertaining movie.
The next movie in my top 10 at number 7 is The Last Voyage of the Demeter, rated 4 stars. I know, very controversial. The crew of the merchant ship Demeter attempts to survive the ocean voyage from Carpathia to London as they are stalked each night by a merciless presence on board the ship. I enjoyed this movie a lot. I thought Javier Botet was used very well. I thought it was very scary, and it did drag a little bit, but overall I found it very fun, and I think the story was really interesting. The next movie at 4 stars is a not very popular movie, The Offering. This came out towards the very beginning of the year, and it's about a young Jewish girl's disappearance. The son of a Hasidic funeral director returns home with his pregnant wife in hopes of reconciling with his father. Little do they know that directly beneath them in the family morgue, an ancient evil with sinister plans for the unborn child lurks inside a mysterious corpse. This is a really cool paranormal monster movie. It's really scary. It's really fun. It's a slow burn with a cool ending. I really liked it, like all the folklore. It just did get a little bit slow, but it was really good in my opinion. I know a lot of people hated it. I thought it was good. Okay, the first movie in my top 5 for 2023 is Cobweb, rated 4 stars. 8-year-old Peter is plagued by a mysterious constant tapping from inside his bedroom wall, one that his parents insist is all in his imagination. As Peter's fears intensify, he believes that his parents could be hiding a terrible, dangerous secret and questions their trust. This one was just so good. It's not at all what you're expecting. I would just say it's not as fun to watch, like rewatch, but the first time I watched it, it was crazy. And it's still a good movie when you rewatch it. Really good. Really, really good. The next movie at the number 4 spot is Clock, which I rated 4.5 stars. On the eve of her 38th birthday, a woman desperately attempts to fix her broken biological clock. This movie, in my opinion, is like a perfect version of False Positive from A24. Like, this is my favorite pregnancy horror I've ever watched. It's so scary, and it's really fun to watch. It's not slow at all. It seems like it would be a thriller, but I feel like this is just definitely a horror movie. But I really like it. Taking the bronze on the podium is Talk to Me, rated 4.5 stars. When a group of friends discover how to conjure spirits using an embalmed hand, they become hooked on the new thrill, until one of them goes too far and unleashes terrifying supernatural forces. This one is just so good. Best A24 horror movie of the year, obviously. Very, very strong. There's very few things I can nitpick, but overall it's pretty good. At second place, I actually have my personal favorite movie of the year. Not the best, I think, but overall this is just my favorite movie to come out of 2023. Malum, rated 4.5 stars. A rookie police officer willingly takes the last shift at a newly decommissioned police station in an attempt to uncover the mysterious connection between her father's death and a vicious cult. That plot itself is just so amazing to me. A lot of people dislike it. A lot of people like it more than Last Shift. I haven't even watched Last Shift. I've just watched this, and I think this is one of the best horror movies I've seen. Like, the best one this year. Not the best. My favorite. My favorite. There's definitely flaws, but I really just love it so much. Now, in my opinion, the very best movie of 2023, rated 5 stars, only 5-star of the year, Saw X. Between the events of Saw and Saw 2, a sick and desperate John Kramer travels to Mexico for a risky and experimental medical procedure in hopes of a miracle cure for his cancer, only to discover the entire operation is a scam to defraud the most vulnerable. Armed with a newfound purpose, the infamous serial killer returns to his work, turning the tables on the con artist in his signature visceral way through devious, deranged, and ingenious traps. This is the best Saw movie ever, and I just love it. I don't even have anything to say. It's perfect. It's a perfect movie. I love it. That's all. But anyways, that's it for 2023. It wasn't the strongest year, but I'm having good hopes for 2024. So, thank you for watching the whole thing. I know it's very long, but I try to make it as short as possible. But thank you for watching.